Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and with Wizard of Legend 2 now having a defined early access release date, I better get to work on finishing the Spotlight Arcana tier list. Or Signature Arcana Spotlight series. The tier list I can probably move a little bit slower on, but yes, it is time to get back into this and finish these up, at least this section of things. So first things first. Alright, classic soundtrack. And then we will choose our signature arcana for the day. Or at least for this video. And so far we've used Arcane Intervention, Astral Dissonance, Gravity Onslaught, and Null Flash Agent. So I suppose our next goal will be Mortal Coil. Which, as you can see, is just the Scorpion Spear. Like, seriously, how else do you define that? It's fucking get over here. It's literally that. So, how do we make this work? Well, first of all, what does it count as? Projectile. But it very clearly synergizes with melee attacks, so we are going to create a melee build to go along with this. Now, what would be the best way to follow that up? Obviously something that strikes at close range, but probably something that does a lot of hits. Like, we could do Shearing Chain. And yes, this is one way to make Spiraling Typhoon work, but I would rather not use Spiraling Typhoon if that's okay with you guys. I mean, we don't have to necessarily go with just melee, because if we go with something that just works well in melee range, like this, that works just as well, so don't think that there's only one way to play this. I'm just going with something that I know. But the fact of the matter is, because this synergizes well with things that you use at close range, you could very easily pair this, like I said, with something like Gust Volley or, as I demonstrated, Flame Fusion, and really get some good work done that way. So this has the versatility, it just depends on what you're going for. Alright, so I think I am going to do the Spiraling Typhoon despite what I said earlier. Then we are going to go with the very obvious, because I want to demonstrate the strength of this way. Now, that having been said, I do think that when you're using this as a signature, because this counts as projectile, you have to kind of make a decision as to how you want this to go, because going with Dark Katana doesn't boost that, because it doesn't count as melee, it counts as projectile. So going with a power projectile build would synergize better with that. But ultimately, take it with a grain of salt. You're not necessarily going wrong either way. It's just either you're building around your basic and your standard, or you're just creating a, power projectile build. So, I think I'm going to go Bladed Vine, and then as for our dash, we're going to want something that keeps pressure off of us, even though we are kind of going in more of a melee direction, so we're going to go Frost Feint, and I think that's good. So let's go ahead and address a couple of questions that I'm pretty sure are, frankly, on all of our minds. When Wizard of Legend 2 releases, will I stop doing content for Wizard of Legend 1? I mean, to be fair, the content for Wizard of Legend 1 might slow down because I've got another focus. But no, I wasn't planning on stopping Wizard of Legend content entirely. Especially since Wizard of Legend 2 is going to be in early access. Which means that... I'm just gonna go. Which means that there's definitely going to be some growing pains to go along with that game. Alright, so now the next question that would come to mind is, what sort of specialty videos are you going to be doing based around Wizard of Legend 1 after Wizard of Legend 2 drops? And the answer to that is, I don't quite know. Ow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any other, like, Special Arcana series videos yet or not. I haven't even quite gotten that far yet. Honestly, I thought I had more time before Wizard of Legend 2 released, but no, with early access coming up, and that game probably being the one exception I make to my wait until early access period is over, because obviously this is kind of my channel focus at the moment. I think it's best that I get to work on this. Alright, so that present was full of max HP items, and yeah, that's a very interesting thing. I've never seen that unbirthday present with max HP items like that. Ooh, more cash. I like more cash. Hey, you, get out of here. Alright, well, now that I've talked a little bit about Wizard of Legend 2's imminent release, let's talk a little bit more about the run itself. And I think the best thing to grab here would be the Tactics Book. So, probably the first thing you noticed is that the bigger enemies that are immune to knockback don't get dragged into you when you use Mortal Coil. That is, of course, to be expected. And you're doing a Dark Katana build if you don't take the Tectonic Drill. Like, are you really doing a Dark Katana build? Now, the upside to that is that that Mortal Coil, or Scorpion Spear, as I prefer to call it, has essentially a secondary effect against big enemies where it's just a good damage dealer. So it's not completely useless against those bigger enemies. Thank goodness for that. And because of that, it also works effectively as a sort of like ranged damage dealer and control, because it does clock enemies with a nice little hit stun effect. And leaving up that swirling eddy of chaos and darkness is just plain a good thing for some of those bigger enemies. Also, the hitbox on this is, albeit still narrow, wider than you would think, meaning that it's really easy to snare a group of enemies and drag them into you for a little bit of punishment. Also, the idea that it's got a 3.5 second cooldown means you can just throw this out randomly and still get a positive effect from it. This is another one of those signature spells that does a little bit of everything, but because it does a little bit of everything, it's more applicable to use in a wide variety of scenarios, and thus it becomes something a little bit greater than the sum of its parts. I think really the striking at roughly mid-range alongside... Oh, hello. Nice bonus. Boom. Nope, give me that. But striking at roughly mid-range with a very short cooldown really kind of propels this into a much better position, in my opinion. Now, I don't necessarily think it's like the best chaos signature or anything, hence why I'm doing it at around this point. But I do think it's good. Like, I don't think that there are necessarily any chaos signatures that are strictly 100% bad, but definitely some that are more difficult to use than others. Okay, just outside of my range. Ow. Oh, and you can dash cancel out of it. Alright, good to know. I don't even think I'm going to use Blazing Blitz, but, I mean, I've been wrong before. No, never mind. I want to replace it as soon as possible. It's not going to do a damn thing against Zeal. No, that's not true, Dark Sage. It'll do 20% less of things to Zeal. It's like, well, that's kind of my point. Not exactly skippy about Inferno Beam either. Not for this one. Oh, that was poorly aimed, poorly executed. Just everything about that stank. And that's what I was afraid of happening. I saw my future, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. But the future refused to change. Cue Lavos sound effect. I'll take that over Inferno Beam. I like Dependable Cake. Although, wait a minute, that seems like it might have been a bad idea, because... yeah, it actually decreased my damage bonus and critical hit rate with the Curse Eater's Mask. I acted way too hastily. Alright, what do we got up here? Well, we definitely buy this. That's, like, non-negotiable. Everything else is iffy. Okay, we're switching these out. No more Blazing Blitz for me. I would rather work with something that I know how to use. No thanks, I don't want that. Oh hey, look at that. Well, we definitely take that. Then I would probably like to pick up the Crystalline Balestra and use that in place of Terra Ring, actually. But... oh, there's also Aqua Vortex. That's also really good. Okay, so what you're probably noticing is that in rooms with a lot of ranged enemies, I'm having a lot of trouble. And there is a perfectly good reason for that. And that is because we don't have a lot of control against long-range enemies. So this Dependable Cake is probably about the best thing I could have gotten, because we are just... we are in kind of a disadvantage against enemies with range. We are just getting trampled on by enemies that have ranged attacks. Do I have extras that I can sell you? I can sell you this. Thank you, sir. There's nothing else there I want. Is there something here I want? Yes. Yes, I want this. And considering my setup, I do think that'll be a better choice than the Aqua Vortex, as much as I love Aqua Vortex. Alright, well I spent almost that entire floor just getting my asshole kicked out to the top of my head. Alright, so we're not doing bad against bosses, but yeah, right now rooms are kind of giving me trouble. That's just because most of the rooms that we're coming across have a lot of long-range threats. And yes, whereas Mortal Coil is supposed to help you with those, it doesn't necessarily negate the threat entirely. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can see the problem that I'm having even as I'm talking. Yeah, I'm gonna grab it. Like I said, I think the sword is still the better option, but in some circumstances I can easily see the Vortex being more worthwhile than the drill. Hell, it might even be more worthwhile than Spiraling Typhoon. And for those of you wondering why I picked Spiraling Typhoon despite the fact that I dislike that spell so much, it really just boils down... It really just boils down to I wanted something with big damage. That's really it. Like, there was no greater thought process there. I was going straight for Oonga Boonga. Alright, what do I like here? There we go. That was another Oonga Boonga choice. In case you're wondering why it seems like I'm taking things that aren't working very well with my build. I would argue, first of all, it makes perfect sense with my build, especially since I do have the Mercury Sandals to offset the speed decrease. And second of all, more damage. More damage, more stun. How does that not synergize well with my build? You know, hypothetical person asking those questions. I will also say that despite the fact that I had one less cursed relic to power up the Curse Eater's Mask with, I must say I do think that the Dependable Cake was definitely the right call here. I would also like to point out real quick, in case some of you haven't realized what's going on, but the signature cast Swirling Vortex of Darkness is canceling out enemy projectiles because the spell itself counts as a projectile. And as we all know, part of what it means for a spell to count as a projectile does mean how it interacts with other enemy projectiles. Now, if only Spiraling Typhoon had an extra effect where it canceled out enemy projectiles. Of course. It's a battle room, alright, but... But the enemies were already there. In other words, it wasn't an ambush. Or rather, it was, but it wasn't the sort of ambush that I thought. Sorry for being so quiet, I'm just... As many of you probably know, these heavily melee-focused builds, like, they are not my bread and butter. So because of that, when I start having trouble on one of these melee-focused builds, I tend to get really quiet so I can focus on trying to make better decisions. Which only works out a percentage of the time. Oh, okay, so what I'm looking for is all the way up there. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, definitely want this. Yep, the strange thing is, I also haven't seen a lot of things that work well for any kind of ranged control, so... I guess You know, working with Unga Bunga playstyle is what we're going to have to do today. There we go. Alright, well I think we made it through the worst of it, so there's a good chance that we'll succeed, but let me not get too ahead of myself because there is always the chance that Sura will just do nothing but null flash agents, and that will just throw off my entire turn. Okay, go away. Owie! Oh, it's a little late for that to be useful. Well, no, not entirely, because that's not useful anymore. So I will grab that for the added armor. And then we grab that for anti-null flash agent technology. Like that. Here, do something stupid, like that. Hey, that's the spell I'm using, copycat. Ow. Why don't you copy D's nuts while you're at it? Gosh, I suck! Oh my god, that was one of the worst whiffs I've ever had. Okay, that's... Alright, so the boss fights went spectacularly. The rooms... Let's just say I'm glad that cake is so dependable. It's sugary, sweet, calorific goodness that throws off your blood sugar levels by a factor of a lot. That was a diabetes joke. I'm glad you noticed. Alright, so, my recommendation for using Mortal Coil, maybe pair it up with something a little bit better than Spiraling Typhoon, and don't be afraid to take something that can offer you some ranged control. Otherwise, yeah, very good melee combo tool, even though it itself counts as a projectile. It's not the most flexible thing in the world, but it's got just enough flexibility to make sure that you're not in completely dire straits. Like I said, it's a great melee combo tool, a good combo starter, because you can hit enemies at range, pull them into you, and then beat them up with whatever of your choice, you know, Gust Volley, or, you know, Aqua Vortex, anything like that. That's right, birds. It's a very fun tool, and if you've ever wondered what it's like playing through Wizard of Legend as Mortal Kombat Scorpion, there you go. And yes, the thumbnail should be very obvious for this one. But that is the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I appreciate you coming to spend some of your free time with me here today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and Wizard of Legend 2 Early Access starts on October 3rd. And yes, you can count on seeing me try that out. Again, since I already played the demo. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll be seeing you.